And we're back with What Matters Most, and we're here with Susan PA. So, Susan, Maria had just been asking us, so are these lifetimes written
well in advance?
well in advance, like multiple lifetimes before, or is it like you get done with a life and then you start writing for the next one? You get done with that life, you start writing for the next one, depending on, I guess, you're playing how much you get accomplished?
Yeah.
The idea then is there is a general flow that's in place. And the idea then is, as it is fluid, it's subject to changes and shifts. We can go far afield in one lifetime, but we can return and work on issues from several lifetimes. So it's not necessarily a continuum of from one life to the next. I'm going to continue to say work on, like self-limitation, for instance.
Right.
And how that might display. Although it may be part of it, there are other energies that we need to work on.
Mm-hmm.
And we may have had time off from a previous life and then come back and revisit them. So it isn't written in stone, you know. There's room to move here. Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting that you have that little bit of give and everything, a little flexibility with that. Are we creating karmic debt? Like, I'm always wondering, is karmic debt something that we're just working through from past lifetimes, but could that also be something that we're creating now too?
Currently.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah, we can create it through thought, through word, through deed.
Oh, interesting. You
Is
said
that
through
from
thought.
Is that from just thinking something negative?
Really?
Yeah, thoughts are things. Thoughts are
Oh.
things.
Wow, that's
Thoughts are
interesting. I would have
things.
not thought
I wouldn't have
of
thought
the
that.
impact related to, of course, and we know that thoughts are things, and yet I wouldn't think of that relationship to karmic death.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So that's
So how do you access the records? How do you yourself, because you actually can access the records for other people, is that correct?
It is correct. Yeah. When I was a student of soul travel and accessing the Akashic records held at the different levels of our incarnation, there's a meditative practice that you use to move to these halls of records. For some people who are more advanced, you may have a direct link to those halls of records. The system that I use to access the records is a system that's called the spiritual response technique. And it's a wonderful way of being able to not only look at past lives, present lives, and future lives that we've lived on the earth plane, but it takes into account the number of lives that we've lived and the energies that we've experienced from other universes, other dimensions. And in addition to that, the partnerships that we have forged with our spirit, the source of all that is, the number one, the energy that lives us all, and those contracts perhaps that we've made along the way as we've moved forward to where we are now.
And you said that's called the spiritual response technique.
Yes, it is.
Where
Yes.
did you learn that?
Well, there's a Spiritual Response Association that exists in Washington State.
Oh.
Yes, and there are practitioners throughout the country and teachers who are doing that work, and it seems to be becoming more and more popular. It's really quite a fascinating study, and I invite people to check it out.
with regard to the Akashic records and tapping into them individually, would it be something that I would always need to approach someone like yourself to be able to start to work through my individual Akashic records, or is there something that I could possibly do maybe on an entry level?
Right. For the initiate or the person just starting out, one of the ways that I always tell people it's helpful to take a look at the bigger picture for yourself. When you when you become aware of patterns or things that aren't working out in your life, perhaps things that you've really spent a great deal of time trying to reconcile, but don't seem to be getting any headway on. It may be an opportunity for you then to bring that awareness to somebody who may be able to help you, whether it's through the advanced work that I'm doing or if it's through a meditative practice. If you are somebody who is connected to spirit, your spirit guides, or you're working with angels, you can absolutely work from that perspective as well to help me understand the source of whatever this issue is that's, up for me at this time.
So kind of pose it out there, put it out there. Maybe when in a regular meditation, put it out there to your angels or your spirit guides and say,
Absolutely.
"Please help me understand what's going on and why is this happening? Is there a
Absolutely.
reason?"
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I-
And you will, and always you can pray on things too. Prayer is a wonderful request to spirit, to source, to for help with any difficult issue, and your prayers are answered. You may not hear the answer you want to hear, but you will hear the answer that's important and necessary at the time. But yeah, you can work with people to access Akashic records, and you can learn yourself how to do it. So it's not my sense though, when we talk more, when we talk really way out there, the greater, the more broad-based accessing of Akashic records for not just humankind, but for all the worlds. This information is, my sense, really something that is best left to the adepts, and the gurus or whomever you may, the higher plane sources, because there's a level of objectivity that I feel is really important when you begin to take a look at the heavier information. It's important to keep it all in perspective.
Yeah.
And that's not something for somebody just starting out.
Sure.
And really, the truth of the matter is, in many respects, we are operating in the perfection of what needs to take place at this time. So we're given tools and opportunities to change, heal, and grow. And if we use them in this lifetime, great. But if we, let's say, maybe use them 5 lifetimes from now, that's great too. So there's no wrong approach to our lives whatsoever. Everything is happening in divine time anyway.
So Susan, can you tell me, when we're in spirit form, is there a way that we can almost program ourselves before we come down in physical form to maybe, I assume we know what life lessons we need to learn in the upcoming life. Is there a way we can almost put ourselves to learn it quicker?
Oh,
Or
that's interesting. Yeah.
is there a way, or is it just based on will and decision, and you have this set of things you must learn, and depending on how quick you can get through them is how quick you learn them?
Even quickness and ease. See, I'm even thinking,
Right.
can you take the path of learning the lesson, but maybe not quite as challenging a path.
Right.
Not quite as rugged of a path.
I see what you're saying. Well, again, there are different dimensions and realms here that are available to us, and perhaps some of those lives aren't as, the earth has been talked about through many teachers as a spiritual school, and this is a tough school here,
Yeah.
So many of us come here to learn some very tough lessons, but we may travel to other places and dimensions where it may not be quite so difficult, or where we've cleaned up a lot, so it's not quite so difficult. So yeah, there is something to be said about that. I always tell the little story about 2 people who stand before God, and God says to soul number 1, what would you like to do when you reincarnate to Earth? And the soul says, well, I want to help people. So they come back and they're a doctor, And then soul number 2 says, well, I want to help people too. And they come back as maybe a garbage man or a cleaning lady or something like
Right.
that, you see.
Uh-huh.
So sometimes, it's helpful to be specific.
Yeah.
I
perhaps.
would think so.
Oh, you mean specific on the other side when we're making
Yeah, if you
these
can,
plans.
if you
But
have that.
I would so hope that we're getting a little coaching. Maybe there's an assigned mentor. There's somebody that's giving us some clarity.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That's a funny way of putting it, but that you would certainly hope that was the case.
Yeah.
So, what I'm curious about is when people approach you, is it because they are having a big life problem and they kind of want like an Akashic record clear out? Or can someone approach you just to get maybe like a little tune-up? Just like to make things a little bit easier?
Right. Well, hands down, and again, in the system that I use, hands down, a complete clearing is done every time.
Okay.
And from that place, because as we live on the earth plane, I mean, we're always creating programs. I can be upset that I didn't get a letter in the mail that I was expecting, or that's so and so who cuts me off on the highway, kind of thing. And I was saying before, thoughts are things. So I may not express something, but I may feel something.
Oh yeah.
You see, so we're always creating programs as we interact with others. There's always something going on. So we can have a complete clearing, and then you're absolutely right that we can take a look at specific issues as well and clear energies that maybe are holding them in place.
Sure.
And it doesn't mean that presto, the issue is gone, but we may gain space so that we can understand our role more clearly in it. We may automatically see somehow or that we're moving differently in relation to an issue.
Absolutely.
So there's been some freedom, there's been space made, there's peace that's come to it. So I've seen in this system some really wonderful shifts and changes for people, and then I have seen where perhaps some individuals are still working, still holding on, and maybe there's something that's going on that their soul really needs to experience, even though they're desperate to get rid of it. So you see, sometimes we can't take a person's reason for being on the earth plane away. We're here to have certain experiences. So, but we can lessen or lighten the load a bit.
Wonderful. Well, Susan, tell us, what matters most to you on the bigger scale of what you're doing, what you're trying to accomplish, and the work that you do? What matters most?
What matters most to me is living an authentic life, being true in all that I do. Because I can't sit before you and tell you one thing and then be somebody else. That's just not correct for me. I've worked for many years, I've devoted over 30 years in this lifetime to really helping heal myself, to gain a deeper understanding of who I am and what my role is here. And every time I come around to the truth of what that is to help people and to be of service, and I can't do it unless I'm really standing in truth. So that's really what matters most to me. And I know that I can't change anybody, but I hope that by living an authentic life, that there's an energy, a resonance that other people may find interesting, would like perhaps to gain an insight into how they too can live an authentic life. So I really hold that space for others to find their own truth as well.
Well, that's beautiful.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you. Well, if you want to find more information about Susan, you can visit her website at spiritfriend.com. That's correct?
Yes, correct.
Wonderful.
So we would like to remind everyone that the simple things in life are what matters most. Namaste.
Namaste.